Happy Tuesday. It's the Jam Nation podcast with Jonesy and Amanda.
We discussed the NRL Grand Final, the commentary, the game, the proposal. There was a lot that went on.
How I missed the first 30 minutes of it when I was actually watching the Grand Final. Don't even ask how that happened.
You feel? Yes, there was an incredible marriage proposal straight at the end of the game. It was so romantic, but not all proposals can be like that.
No.
Some are a bit piss weak.
Yeah, piss weak proposals, or PWPs if you don't like the swears. Also, pub test, Gladys Berejiklian going. That old thing, when did that happen? Like a lifetime ago.
A lot of news on the weekend, wasn't there? Lee Sales is going to join us. She's got a new book out. And daylight savings. Why am I still confused?
And William Shatner, wouldn't want to talk about going into space, but now he's going into space. That's all coming up on our podcast.
Everybody online.
Right now, by the miracle of recording, we had so many requests for them to do it again.
Mistress Amanda.
Miss Keller. Amanda.
Doesn't work alone.
Wow, this is fantastic.
Her friend is in a back room making the tools of the trade.
I've heard them describe him as a drunken idiot.
Sorry, I've been drinking beer.
The legendary pirate Jonesy and Amanda the actress.
Hello, Wiggles.
Congratulations, Mandy.
We're on the radio right now.
Jonesy and Amanda, you're doing a great job.
You have no empathy for anyone but yourself, you giant tool.
Now's the time to hear good radio.
Sorry, a bit of a tongue twist there.
What are you, an idiot?
Jonesy and Amanda are here.
It's showtime, a-holes. We're on the air.
Well, hello there, Amanda. How are you today?
Well, is there any news? Has anything happened this weekend?
I had a little afternoon sleep on Friday, and then I woke up and there was 2 missed calls from you, and I always get, what's happened? The Premier is gone. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Asleep for literally, I think, 45 minutes on Friday afternoon, and then she was gone.
You know, we thought the grand final would be the big story on the weekend, and that was massive, and lots of things to talk about that, which we will throughout the show. But wow, to many of us that came out of nowhere on Friday, but to many in the know, they were waiting for that other shoe, as Gladys herself may have been, waiting for that shoe to drop. She knew ICAC was about to begin an investigation, and bang, there it went.
It's not a good thing. We should look about Barry O'Farrell. Remember, he resigned because someone gave him a bottle of Grange. Well, you know, allegedly, you hear stories that, you know, there was more to investigate, and he says, I'll fall for this. I'll go for this. So there's no more investigation. Yeah.
You just don't know. And that's allegedly. I don't know any more than gossip.
It's funny when you look at history, though. Where was ICAC when the Luna Park ghost train fire happened?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing.
7 people died. Oh, you're nothing to see here.
And for all the people who are missing Gladys, and rightly, we're in the middle of it, it's a terrible time to lose our Premier. But the whole thing was set up to stop corruption. We have a terrible history of corruption with New South Wales politics.
Nick Greiner started ICAC, but then he had to resign because of ICAC.
Yeah, but that's how the system works. And there's no federal ICAC, or there'd be nobody left. So this is how the system works. We'll be talking about it throughout the show and how you feel about the last few days and how all that's transpired. But it's there as a corruption watchdog, and it doesn't care how popular you are. It doesn't care on the timing, whether you're in the midst of a pandemic.
If you're a politician, how do you think you'd go as far as skeletons in the closet? Dodgy deals.
I've done no dodgy deals. Have you?
I think there must be, you know, but you don't know.
What are yours?
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to say them now.
Oh, come on, tell me now, and then you don't have to worry about an inquiry because you've said it out loud.
I lose my job. Hang on.
I had one small sleep. I woke up and I was gone.
I was out of a job. The 5K Fast 5 is back again.
That's normal. That's normal.
We're here.
For now. And the Magnificent 7. Here's question 1. Which part of the body is known as the derriere?
Podcast. We have the Magnificent 7. There are 7 questions. Can you go all the way and answer all 7 questions correctly? If you do that, Amanda will say,
that's amazing. Congratulations. Well done. Where are you from? Did you have a good weekend? Stuff like that.
But really, it's about getting question 7.
Sure,
right?
It is.
Nathan's in Picnic Point.
Hi, Nathan.
Hi, guys. How are we?
How did the picnics go in Picnic Point over the weekend? I guess they'd be...
They were pretty good, beautiful weather for it, and made some pumpkins with my daughter yesterday for practice for Halloween, so that was all
good. The old jack-o'-lantern.
Did you carve out a pumpkin? I would slice my hands in half doing that.
We did. We drew the faces on with texture, and then we gently, with a little knife for her, and we cut them out, so she's pretty happy with it.
Oh, good.
And what do you do with all the pumpkin inside the pumpkin?
A lot of it's that stringy sort of seed stuff, isn't it?
Yes, It is. I had to clean it out because she said it was too gooey for her to touch. So
So you've just put it on sandwiches for her this morning. All right, question 1 for you, Nathan. Which part of the body is known as the derriere?
That would be your bottom.
Yeah, that's right.
Who won the NRL Grand Final?
Wow, that's a tricky one, Nathan.
The Penny Panthers.
That's it.
What a game.
All right, time for first impressions.
First impression. First impression.
This is where we do an impression of someone and you need to guess who it is. Amanda's turn today.
I'll do it today. You ready, Nathan? Here we go. Resigning at this time is against every instinct in my being and something I do not want to do. I love my job, I love serving the community, but have been given no option following the statement that's been issued today. Who's that?
That would be our fallen hero, Gladys.
That's it.
Let's see how you win.
Resigning at this time is against every instinct in my being and something which I do not want to do. I love my job and I love serving the community, but I have been given no option following the statement that's been issued today.
You could see that she was getting through it so that she wouldn't get emotional. She was sort of wiping her nose occasionally and, you know, getting through it before she had a big ball session, I'm imagining.
Couldn't have ICAC waited just a month? So they have to do it
but
now.
But this is the point of an anti-corruption thing. It doesn't care. It doesn't sway. This has been in the works apparently for a long time. But as citizens of New South Wales in the midst of pandemic, you go, what timing? This is terrible.
You've got to be a paragon of virtue if you're going to be a premier. That's what you have to be.
Yes.
You can't have any.
Well, she may have none. They are investigating, but they feel there's a case.
But we're Australians. Like, everyone's got a dodgy past.
No, that's bull. That's if you're going to be this was set up to weed out corruption. And I'm not saying that Gladys is. We haven't got the findings, but you know, this is you can't poo-poo ICAC. We need a federal ICAC. I don't think it's fair to poo-poo ICAC. We need ICAC.
There'd be a few of our senior politicians worried if there was a federal ICAC.
Imagine.
That'd be poo-poo indeed. Rapper Eminem has opened a restaurant. It's called what? Is it A, Nathan, Slim's Eatery, B, Mum's Spaghetti, or C, Love the Way You Eat?
That would be B, Mum's Spaghetti.
Mum's Spaghetti.
Yes, from this audio, of course.
Arms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's Spaghetti, he's nervous.
I'm glad he didn't call the restaurant Vomit on the Sweater. Question 5 for you now, Nathan. You're doing very well.
You could be all the way, Nate.
I know, imagine that. Fingers crossed. According to Advance Australia Fair, our home is girt by what?
C.
Yes, it is.
Who is the current lead singer of Aussie rock band AC/DC?
That would be Brian Johnson.
He's turning 74 today.
That brings you to question number 7, Nathan.
Here we go.
You could be winning everything if you can answer this question. Here we go. Name one of the celebrities who left SAS last night.
They VW'd.
That would have been Heath Shaw.
Heath Shaw, the AFL player.
Along with Jet Kenny and Jessica Paris. Nathan.
Jet lagged because he didn't eat fish.
Well, he said that he just didn't have enough food in his system. He didn't like what they served him.
Congratulations to you, Nathan. You've got it all, the jam pack. You've got a $150 Amazing Oils voucher. Put a spring in your step with Amazing Oils Active Range, a Logitech home office pack. Work from anywhere with the Logitech keyboard and mouse combo. And Jonesy and Amanda Coach to choose for you to colour in some Staedtler pencils. And Nathan, because you're all the way Nate, you get praise from Amanda.
Well done, Nate.
And you get
Nathan. His name is Nathan.
I like him as a Nate. And you get...
Nate, I get Nate a lot.
There you go. And a carton of your favourite beer. Whatever that may be. Good on you, my man.
Well done, Nathan. Does this mean Thank you. Does this mean we now have to have a big fact?
Well, would you like a big fact? Sure, of course.
Yeah, I didn't phrase it like that.
Happy to do it.
Jam Nation.
So Nathan of Picnic Point went all the way in the Magnificent Seven, so we have this gaping hole in the show.
You like to use the big fact as audio putty. Fill that big hole. Haven't heard this for a while.
Big fact J-Man style. J-Man style. Big fact J-Man style.
Well, that Squid Game from South Korea, everyone's loving that at the moment. Apparently it's dreadful. It's like Grizzly, but people are loving it. So I thought we'd
What's the connection? Oh, South Korean, of course.
He's South Korean. Did you know people started wearing pyjamas instead of nightgowns in World War I, so they were prepared to run outside when an air raid siren went off? So before that, you used to wear your nightgown.
Men and women.
Men and women, they wear the gown.
Remember Wee Willie Winky?
In his nightgown.
And when we saw all of that, like remember the grandparents in bed in Willy Wonka, everyone was wearing nighties.
Yeah. We saw all of that.
Then how come women didn't?
Didn't what?
Did women start wearing pyjamas around the same time?
I haven't got any other information.
Oh, okay. Women stuck with the nighties by the look of it.
They stuck with, well, you need the access. My wife started wearing one of those onesies, like just a giant onesie. There's no access whatsoever. It's like a boiler suit.
It's the air raid siren gone off again. Just in
Big Fat
case.
J-Man style. Big Fat J-Man style.
Jonesy and Amanda.
Jam Nation.
Podcast.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm glad we're not the only ones up at this ungodly hour.
My turn to flick through the Jalmanac, our big book of musical facts. On this day in 1992, the Spin Doctors released their first single, Little Miss Can't Be Wrong. Soon after the song climbed the charts, lead singer Chris Barron had some explaining to do, specifically because of the opening line of the song. Can you hear what he's saying there?
Yeah.
People thought he wrote the song about his ex-girlfriend and he was accused of misogyny. He then revealed he'd actually written the song about his stepmother. Apparently, Chris had to drop out of college because she spent his tuition money on a Ferrari Dino and an expensive wardrobe, all while telling him he'd grow up to be a great singing janitor. So she was a piece of work. She was no Little Miss Sunshine.
No. Oh, we get to play the Spin Doctors, though.
Jam Nation.
The grand final. What happened again? It was an amazing game, wasn't it? It was an amazing game. It was very tense. I have a lot of friends who had dyed-in-the-wool South supporters, so I was going for Penrith. But, I spoke to them the next day, and one in particular said he still thought right to the end that Souths were going to do it.
Yeah.
But Penrith just dominated pretty much that whole game, didn't they?
Gee, they were the wounded Penrith, though. They were like the car and the Blues Brothers at the end. Just all fell apart at the end, but... Gee, they played well.
Didn't they just? What I always find most entertaining is the commentary, the Rabs and Gus show.
Yep.
Rabs was particularly in good verbose form.
What a night. Emotional for so many, especially that fellow, Adam Reynolds. His last game in Cardinal and Myrtle.
Is that red and green?
South supporters going, what's that red and green, isn't it?
Cardinal and Myrtle. Even at their elite level, they cannot understand the rulings.
Well, it's a stupidity in the rules. It's an absolute stupidity in the rules, and it's a technicality that you don't want to be bringing out now. That's a stupid rule. That's a stupid interpretation of it.
Stupid, isn't it?
It is stupid.
It's absolutely stupid. You're quite right.
What? Rabs does remind me of you occasionally. What about this? He got a time call wrong, Brendan.
16 minutes gone. Second half. Make that 18. Pass my glasses, Joe.
And I'm not sure who he was talking about here.
Big drop kick.
Could be anyone.
I've got a confession to make. So I was watching Foxtel's coverage of the league. So I'm just sitting there, had this big countdown. The grand final starts in, and it's just got this countdown clock. So that's just sitting there. I didn't realise that Foxtel don't have the rights to the grand final.
No, they have commentary around it. They don't show the game.
So the countdown was to their halftime commentary.
How much did you miss?
I missed about 20 minutes of the game.
Oh.
And Helen's doom scrolling away on her phone as she attempts to do these days. And she said, well, how come Souths have already scored a goal? I said, well, that's impossible. The game hasn't even started. Look at the countdown. And then I looked at it and I realised the game had started.
Yes.
And this was at 8 o'clock.
You missed all the pre-show entertainment.
I missed all the stuff, and I wanted to see Mossy. I was jazzed about Mossy was going to be the start of the game entertainment.
Yeah, Mossy and Kate Miller-Heidke, they did a beautiful version of Flame Trees.
Get to driving Saturday afternoon. Just pass me by.
Nice diction, afternoon.
Did she do the swear?
Yeah.
Did Mossy.
We've shared some history. This town and I
love that a grand final can have that artistry to it.
Yeah.
Storm
was confusing. The Stafford brothers were there, and Rab's his commentary joined in.
He was doing a collab with the Stafford brothers.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are the Stafford brothers. And right here, right now, make some noise for the NRL Grand Final.
He's gone in to score. Spectacular try. He lights it again. He gets there first.
There's Rabs with the fluoro stick.
And they also had Timmy Trumpet. I didn't realise Timmy Trumpet was from Queensland.
Make some noise. Welcome to the stage, Timmy Trumpet.
Rabs and Timmy Trumpet.
The bass and the tweeters make the speakers fly high. The mighty trumpet brings the freaks up to the floor.
Big drop kick.
But there were emotional moments too. Greg Alexander,
yes,
Penrith great. He was overwhelmed at the end of the game.
How proud are you?
Oh, I can't believe it, Fonny. I can't. That was the worst 10 minutes of my life. That was... I'm so proud of him. I really am. It's, that's overwhelming. It's beautiful. It really is. I don't know what to say.
What would Rab say?
Big drop kick.
We haven't even spoken about the engagement. We'll talk about that later in the show. Oh, it gave us everything, that game.
Jonesy and Amanda. Jam Nation.
Podcast.
Amputee Awareness Week is this week. It's a chance to shine a light on a number of people in Australia with limb loss and to remind all amputees that they are not alone. Our next guest is the woman behind a phenomenal program called AMP Camp, a program for Australian youth living with limb loss. Emma Ridgway, hello.
Good morning, how are you?
Very well. Emma, are you an amputee?
I am. I'm a bilateral amputee below knee, so I've lost both legs below the knee.
And do you mind me asking how that came about?
Vascular disease. So I had poor circulation. My first leg, I'd actually broken my leg so badly they couldn't save it. And my next leg, I bumped on the wheelchair. So I had to remove that one too.
How old were you when that happened, Emma?
It's in recent years, probably the last 6 or 7 years. So it's quite recent. I'm really comfortable with it, to be honest. So my legs were handy, my real legs, but I still got legs now. I'm still mobile, still active. So.
And when I first met you, I did a charity trivia night for you guys. And I remember when I first met you, you were there and you were on legs. You're on 2 prosthetic legs, but I didn't even notice. And that was after the course of the night. You said that I'm actually missing 2 legs, and I went, "Oh yeah, really? Is that true?" And you are.
I often forget I haven't got legs, to be honest. So it's not how I think of myself. It's not what makes me. It's the same for many amputees. So often someone will say something to me about my legs, and I think, well, how do you know? And then I realise I'm wearing a dress or something and they can see. So I don't think to say to people, "Hi, I'm Emma, I have no legs," because that's definitely not what makes me. And for most amputees, that's the case.
So how many amputees are in Australia and what are the main causes that people have limb loss?
That's a good question. You're looking at about 8,000 amputations a year, and that could be everything from arms and legs, fingers and toes, all sorts of amputations. And in New South Wales, you're probably looking at a good 2,000 solid limb loss with arms and legs. Most of those would be due to things like chronic disease, such as diabetes, about 50%, or vascular disease. It's a really common thing.
And tell us about young people then who have amputations. So I know that's what AMP Camp focuses on. How hard is it to be a young person and be an amputee?
I think growing up, it's difficult, especially in your teen years as it is, to be an amputee. And you're finding yourself and finding where you fit in groups. And like I said, that's hard enough of a challenge, let alone when you're different, you're physically different. And ultimately you are disabled in that sense, but you're quite capable. So it's really finding where you fit, finding that you're okay, identifying, because often you don't see yourself in posters, you don't see yourself in marketing. That's changing quite a lot. But it's really important, I think, to find value in yourself and find your purpose. So, for young people.
How important are things like the Paralympics, where we do see different kinds of bodies? Is that really useful for young people?
I think the Paralympics are a wonderful platform for disability across the board, and that's really increasing awareness for disability and I guess consequently ability and celebrating those sorts of things. But we have to remember that the Paralympics it's peak performance and peak performance in sport. So often amputees and limb different or people living with limb difference, the first thing people will say is, well, you can be a Paralympian. But setting the standard and the expectation that you need to be at the peak level of performance in order to be valued is really difficult. You wouldn't expect that of an able-bodied person. You don't expect every able-bodied person walking down the street to be a peak-performing athlete. And yet we sometimes draw that as the initial expectation of someone living with a disability.
Yeah.
So whilst it's really good for awareness, we also need to put into perspective that we're just everyday people living our best life and being as active as possible.
Yeah.
So,
Well said.
Well, Emma, it's always great to talk to you. To find out more about AMP Camp, head to amputenewsouthwales.org.au. Emma Ridgway, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emma.
Jam Nation.
How fast can this thing go?
Faster than the speed of light. Jonesy and Amanda's 5K Fast Five.
All right. Can you win $5,000 by getting inside the brain of Brendan Jonesy Jones? We give $1,000. We give $100. That was close. For each correct answer, each answer you have that match with Jonesy, get all 5. You will get $5,000.
Wozy.
We've got Megan in Camden. Hi, Megan.
Good morning. I would have liked that $1,000 each question.
I know. I'm sorry about that. I misspoke.
But if you got a 5, you get $5,000, Megan.
That would be fabulous.
Today's category, items in a pencil case. Jonesy's written down his 5. I have them in my hot little hand. What are yours, Megan?
I'd have a pencil, or have Jonesy's got a pencil, a sharpener, a rubber, a pen, and a permanent marker. Like a Sharpie.
A Sharpie.
All right, let's see. That's your list. Let's see how many match.
Fingers crossed.
Megan, you had a pencil. Jonesy had a pencil.
It's a pencil case.
$100. You said pen. Jonesy said pen.
Yep.
And if you've got a pencil, you have to have a sharpener. Jonesy said sharpener, $300.
Oh, my goodness.
You said rubber.
Yeah, I've always got a rubber on me.
Jonesy said rubber.
No way.
Way.
$400. Megan, you said permanent marker.
Yes.
If Jonesy has permanent marker, you've got $5,000. He said liquid paper. Oh.
How else can I write skyhooks on my pencil case without liquid paper?
Oh,
Megan.
Megan.
No, that's fabulous.
You got $400. Well done.
Megan.
That was fun. My heart's racing. Thank you.
Well, there you go. Well,
you've done that then.
You race on down Camden Valley Way then, Megan.
She goes.
Hey, look at that.
Well, we unpacked a lot earlier from the grand final, but we didn't drill down on that engagement, the proposal. We'll do it next.
Jam Nation.
The grand final. It was an incredible game.
What a game.
What a game. Rabs in top form, being over verbose.
What a night. Emotional for so many, especially that fellow, Adam Reynolds. His last game in Cardinal and Myrtle.
That's red and green.
I don't know who he meant when he's talking about this.
Big drop kick.
But could the game have been any more dramatic that at the end of that game, Brian Toho, you're still giggling at drop kick.
Sorry, yes.
Goes up to the stands where his girlfriend Moesha is standing, and he gets down on one knee, blood pouring out of his forehead, and says, "Will you marry me?" It was extraordinary, wasn't it? It was so Australian. "Will you marry me?" She says yes. Everyone goes, "Isn't that great?" And he turns around, then goes back to his teammates, and they all hug him, and that happens, and she's left just there.
Those guys, they're just so like Jerome Luai and him, Brian Toho. They're little buddies, and
it was beautiful.
Makes you look at that and you just go, you just love that.
And wasn't it great when they went up to collect their medals, and they mentioned the teams where they they'd started. I thought that was terrific, and so many had started in the small teams, and Mount Druitt and Marylands, and here they were, premiership winners. It was beautiful, but. He then, so yes, she says yes. I mean, how could you not say yes with all those circumstances? But yes, they're madly in love, these two, and it was so lovely. It was a really lovely thing to see. I don't know, like, did he have the ring on him through the game in his pocket?
Yeah.
Where had he secreted it?
I don't know. No.
And he claims he was going to ask whether they'd won or lost, because you'd have to say, too, if they hadn't won, what would have happened there? I was laughing in the paper this morning. There was a picture of him jokingly kind of giving her a lap dance. He said, I gave her a little lap dance. The boys were hyping me up. The boys set me up to it. He said, I ended up giving her a lap dance for around 30 seconds until I went overboard and side-kicked her in the head by accident. That's love, isn't it?
That is love.
Sam Mack on his Insta over the weekend, he was in the Botanic Gardens with his girlfriend.
Don't tell me he got married.
No. He was in the Botanic Gardens with his girlfriend when he saw a very elaborate setup with a giant sign. I think the sign said, "Will you marry me?" He said it was set up there with musicians, with the whole thing for 3 hours. Finally, this guy comes up with his girl. She's blindfolded. What did she think was going to happen?
Yeah. I'm going to take you off
Let's go horse riding. Or grizzly murder.
A grizzly murder.
So
okay.
He takes off the blindfold. There are musicians. There's a big audience by now, clapping, woohoo, all of that.
It's a bit too showy for me.
It's so dramatic, though, isn't it? There's a whole seam of TikTok videos of crazy proposals and of grooms on their wedding days turning around. Have you seen all these where they turn around and see their bride for the first time and they weep?
Yeah.
The pressure is so high to do something amazing. It's really hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
What was your proposal like? Was it romantic?
I think it was. Yeah, it was kind of.
Were you there?
It was. It was just happening. It was going to happen.
In those days, you and I both got married 30 years ago. You didn't have to do a big dramatic proposal.
No, it was pretty much. Because my wife didn't trust me to buy the ring, although I sold a motorbike to buy the ring. And she said, right, this is the ring I want. You go and buy it, go and pick it up. So it was a done deal.
Before the proposal.
Yeah.
So you'd had a conversation about getting married.
We had a conversation. So there wasn't really a bit, will you marry me? There was just, you get the ring. This is what's going to cost you.
And so she was waiting for the moment where you're going to present the ring.
And the only thing I did was I pretend that there was a cock up at the jewellery store and the ring wasn't ready. So we went out for dinner.
Oh, that's good.
And then I said, and then that was it. But it
wasn't, that's good.
But it wasn't like all of a sudden 1 minute we weren't engaged or anything like that. And then I said, let's get engaged. It was
had an understanding.
There was
somehow.
an understanding. It was it was kind of clinical. I don't know.
I was at Beyond 2000 and I was writing some scripts from home. Harley and I weren't living together. And he said, he phoned and said, look, can I come over? I said, sure. And he came, it was at the door.
Sure, I'll just get this other guy out of my house.
Raoul. I didn't even have a pool, but he was there cleaning the pool. And Harley was in a suit. He said, can I come in for a second? He had a little bag with him. I said, are you all right? Because when someone wears a suit, you just think someone's carked it.
Yeah.
And he came in and he had some flowers, carnations in his bag and some champagne, and he got down on one knee and said, will you marry me?
Oh, that's nice. That's a big deal.
And I went and put on a bridesmaid's dress that I had in the cupboard, and we couldn't take selfies, so we got our camera and put them on the self-timer so we could take a photo.
Oh, that's better than my story.
It would, but in those days, no one sort of had skywriters or, something written on a rock under the sea and you have to go skydiving to see it.
Skydiving under the sea. Now
that's how hard it is now, Brendan.
Quite the proposal.
So forget all the big stuff. The tribal drum is beating for Piss Week proposal.
PWP.
Hey, baby, I think I want to marry.
Yeah. Did something go wrong? Was it completely lackluster? What happened?
Yeah, you were just had an arrangement and all of a sudden you're married for 30 years.
Well, that's romance. For our man of the match, a deluxe overnight stay at the Crown Plaza, Sydney, Darling Harbour.
Super.
Celebrating its first birthday this month, and you can be part of it.
Jam Nation
Podcast.
Some engagements and proposals are hugely elaborate. where we saw the charm of Brian To'o proposing to Moesha at the end of the grand final. His face has got blood pouring down and he says in the stands, "Will you marry me?" Lovely.
Sweet.
It's so sweet. Sam Mack put on his Insta one that happened at Botanic Gardens.
Don't worry, ladies. Sam Mack isn't getting engaged. I know a lot of people are out there.
He did buy a house with his girlfriend on the weekend.
When did this happen?
On the weekend.
Is that some of that real full Monty money kicking in?
Where's yours?
Yeah, where's my real full Monty money? Where's that? When's that start to kick in? They said it would kick in.
Well, he was just down at Botanic Gardens and he saw a very elaborate setup with flower arches and "Will you marry me?" And finally, after 3 hours, a young man leads a young woman towards it with a blindfold on. She must have thought something was going on. Takes the blindfold off and the band's playing. Very public way of not being able to say no.
If you were a girl, would you like that?
I'm shy, so I would feel a little uncomfortable.
If you were a girl, of course.
Is that what I said?
No, I said that.
Right. Would you like that?
No, I don't like anything public.
If you had to do it again, you said you were very casual the first time around. It was like a decision that, hey, we may as well get married. Would you be more theatrical now that with social media it's kind of expected?
Yeah, but I don't even like singing happy birthday for other people in public.
Really?
Well, I certainly, if I'm out in public and it's my birthday, I don't really like when other people sing happy birthday. It's too much attention.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it'd be the same thing again with Helen.
Just keep it on the down low.
Keep it on the down low and I'll get you a ring. Well, the tribal drum is beating, forget the big proposals. We're going, what did you call it?
PWP.
Piss week proposal.
Hey, baby, I think I want to marry.
Gay has joined us. Hello, Gay.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Aren't you sweet?
Nice, Gay.
How was your proposal?
Well, he took me out to a local restaurant, nothing too fancy. And we were just sitting there like we've done a million times before. And towards the end of the night, he pushed across the table the receipt from the ATM, the little slip of paper you get to tell you how much your balance is.
Yeah.
And he pushed that across the table and he said, "That's how much money I've saved for an engagement ring."
Oh. Well, was it romantic? I can't tell by your voice whether you liked it or not.
Well, it's been about 28 years and we're still married, and, he's lovely and he hates it when I tell that story. And he says if he could do it again, no, he doesn't even say that. He just hates it when I tell that story.
So
he doesn't even have a plan B.
Would you rather have had the ring pushed across the table rather than a monetary thing?
Yes, and not just in the daggy local restaurant.
Yeah.
Just even in a park or a bushwalk in the national park. I don't even know.
Yeah.
It doesn't even need to be public, but the local restaurant, the ATM receipt, and in his defence, he knew that I would want to pick something myself, and so therefore it would have been a bit useless
that's what
buy it.
My wife did that to me. She didn't trust me to buy the ring.
Well, it is interesting.
And so he pushed the receipt across. Was it a good amount of money? Right. Okay.
Look, 28 years ago, it was enough.
It was enough.
Because
I'm very diplomatic.
The old days, I don't think you were proposed to with a ring. I wasn't, and then you go together to buy a ring.
I thought it isn't. Maybe it's because we've seen movies and stuff. The guy brings out the ring.
Yeah, I don't think it used to be that. I could be wrong.
Debbie's joined us as well. Hello,
Debbie.
Hi, how you going, guys?
Very well. How was your proposal?
Very interesting. 1983, I was sitting in the bedroom. He walked in and he said, "Well, if you want to get married, you better find out what we have to do," and threw the telephone book on the bed.
So, meaning you arrange it?
Yeah, basically.
Those phone books were pretty heavy too. Are you still together?
Oh, no.
No. Just threw the telephone book on the bed and said, "You want to get married?
You looked up divorce lawyers.
This is what you got to do."
Thank you, Debbie. That's not very romantic.
Let your fingers do the walking.
Not happy, Jan. Well, we're going to take more of your calls. Piss week proposal.
Jonesy and Amanda.
Jam Nation.
Podcast.
Let's get this over with. Are we ready? Pay attention because I do not want to have to fail you.
The Tribal Drummer's been beating this morning PWPs. They can't be all great proposals.
Some can be piss weak proposals, and that's what we're talking about.
I think I want to marry you.
So much pressure these days to get it right because of social media. Doesn't always go that way.
You feel sorry for the guy. I feel sorry for the guy.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure, isn't there?
Darren in Rosebery has joined us. Hello, Darren. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you guys?
Great.
Well, let's hear it from the male perspective. How did your proposal go?
Well, my proposal was the best elaborate scheme to kind of put the diamond inside a Kinder Surprise for my partner, who always loves the Kinder Surprises. So maybe after 20 attempts of trying to remold the chocolate and rewrap the paper again, I got one perfect, but on the trip it was very hot, and in the morning of the room it started to melt, and pretty much I was trying to remold and she walks out with my hands full of chocolate everywhere and going, "What are you doing?" And I could only really just say, "Here's that yellow egg." And she basically found her proposal. So my whole elaborate scheme was ruined, chocolate all over my hands. She's just out the shower, and there we go.
It was a lovely idea, but I can see it ended up just with your hands covered in brown, and you just give her that internal, the inside. You give her the inside part of
Where's
the egg.
this ring come from? Don't answer.
Where have you been hiding that? Thanks,
you,
Darren.
It all worked out, though, I presume.
Yeah.
Kathy's joined us as well. Hello, Kathy.
Hello, guys.
Hello, Kathy. How was your proposal?
My proposal was getting close to Christmas. You know, you get all the brochures in. I was looking through the brochure, and he goes, "Oh, well, I suppose we better get you one." And which is obviously a ring brochure. He said, "I suppose we better get you one." And to this day, I believe it's because he couldn't think of what to get me for Christmas, so he decided, "Oh, well, that'll do."
So he'll go with an engagement
We may as well get
instead.
married. Still married, Kathy?
No.
Oh, wow. That was next year's brochure.
But that's easier, though, isn't it? Instead of getting a woman a Christmas gift, you get her an engagement
And also, you just give her a brochure saying,
ring. There you go.
do
Take
it
your
yourself.
pick.
Do it yourself.
Kathy, I think you're a bit too picky there.
Jam Nation.
Let's get on down to the Jonesy to Manor Arms. So you have a sleep on Friday afternoon. We have a premiere. I wake up 45 minutes later. We have no premiere.
Wow, what a shock it was to most of us to hear these words from Gladys Berejiklian on Friday afternoon.
Resigning at this time is against every instinct in my being and something which I do not want to do. I love my job and I love serving the community, but I have been given no option following the statement that's been issued today.
It seems kind of disproportionate, doesn't it? So ICAC is around now, the Independent Commission Against Corruption. Where was ICAC, say, in 1979 when the Luna Park ghost train fire happened? We're all sort of like, oh,
That's
well,
why
nothing to see here.
New South Wales politics has been corrupt for so many years, which is why we have ICAC. ICAC acts independently, which is why people are saying, as did our Premier, this timing is terrible. We're in the midst of a pandemic, but ICAC doesn't care. I know there's a giant outpouring of grief. We are in troubled times. We need a steady hand. Many, many people love Gladys Berejiklian. It was shocking, shocking information. Many people felt that she was forced into going. The bottom line is she chose to go. She was told, she's probably known for some time, the other shoe was about to drop, that ICAC were investigating her ex-partner. The implication is that she knew of his dealings and didn't disclose them, and that's part of the job of being a politician. You have to disclose any inconsistencies, any chance of being coerced in any way. She did not disclose any of that, and then did some deals that were advantageous to him. That is what's being looked at through ICAC. She hasn't been found guilty of it yet, but she chose to step down, not step aside. She chose to go. You know, it's harsh, but there it is.
And clearly the implications would be much bigger. Obviously, there's something to this that she had to resign. If there was nothing to it, she wouldn't have resigned.
Well, she said that these investigations take a long time, and she may have had to stand aside for a long time, so it was better off if she went. It's hard, isn't it? I know that people had put out your jackets for Gladys. I saw put out your shredders. People were doing baked goods with her face on the front. Sydney, New South Welshmen and women responded with outrage that she's gone, with, well, that's what happens when you are accused of corruption.
But could have ICAC just waited, say till November, November or December?
But then they're not being an independent watchdog. They're being swayed by politics.
And when you look at it, the man that started ICAC, Nick Greiner, ended up getting dismissed because of ICAC.
We've lost, I think, 3 former premiers to ICAC. We'd love a federal ICAC. There's a big push for that, but I wonder how many people we'd lose. So Gladys going, what do you think? Does it pass the pub test? And she chose to go, remember?
She chose to go.
Jam Nation.
Our next guest is one of the country's most respected journalists, and she's also a top chick, as anyone who's heard her podcast with Annabelle Crabb will know. The podcast, it's about books, it's about cooking, it's about TV, it's about popular culture, it's about friendship. It is now a book called Well, Hello. And we have Lee Sales with us. Well, hello, Lee.
Well, hello to you.
What about you?
What about you? Did much news happen on the weekend, Lee?
Just a little bit. You know, it's funny when you announced me as one of Australia's most respected journalists. I actually always think of the time when Crab and I did a show for our podcast where I dressed up as Freddie Mercury on stage. From the I Want to Break Free clip, I had the suspenders and the moustache and the wig, and I had a vacuum cleaner, and yeah, it was quality.
I think there's a photo of that in the book I've been flicking through here.
There is.
Well, this is a serious book because it's actually got one of those bookmarky ribbony things in it.
I know, hardcore, absolutely hardcore. You'd be a sort of flip the pages down man, wouldn't you, though, James?
Well, we only just received the book because there's Australia Post. There's some trouble, so I just got the book now.
At 7:30, the book appeared.
All I've noticed is the bookmarky ribbony thing, and I've noticed that you and Annabelle, you're animated, but both of you don't have noses.
Wouldn't have picked
I'm going to have to get them. It's going to have to be recalled now, I think. That's the case.
But this is one of the lovely things about you and Annabelle, respected journalists, but you've never shied away from being hilarious, opinionated, fun women. And so how have you made the podcast into the book? How have you translated that?
Well, we sort of sat around with a couple of our friends and we talked about, okay, what are the kind of things you guys would like to hear us bang on about? And so we came up with a list of topics like friendship and how do you say no and how do you have a good conversation. And then we basically sat down, recorded our conversations, edited the transcripts, and then we wrote a few bits and pieces and whacked some illustrations in, as Jonesy said, got that classy green ribbon, and bang, it was a book.
Bang. Next minute. I noticed in the book you've got a book, a thing about conversation. What makes a good conversation? So what are your key points for a good conversation?
Well, I think the main thing is listening and responding to what the other person is actually saying, because I think in life, and I'm sure you guys have seen this, there's a hell of a lot of times where you're talking to somebody and they're not actually listening. They're just looking for the next moment where they can interject what they think's funny or, talk about themselves or whatever. So I think part of it is listening. And I mean, one of the things I enjoy about Crab's company and also yours, Amanda, is just a bit of gentle wit. Like who doesn't like having a conversation with somebody who's a little bit witty? So, not taking yourself too seriously, I think, is pretty key as well.
So I didn't get a mention in this.
Half-wit. You're a half-wit.
In this triumvirate of conversation.
How did you and Annabelle meet? How did you become this chemistry? How did you find that about each other?
Well, she actually just cold called me, must have been about 2008 or 9, when she was thinking of coming to work at the ABC, and she said, we know some people in common and I just wanted to talk to you about working at the ABC. And I said to her, well, why don't you come over for morning tea one day? And she came over and she didn't leave until 4:30. Like, it was one of those kind of scenarios. In fact, I was looking at the clock at one point thinking, does this woman not have anything else to do? And I'm trying to give her a wind up and sort of shove her out the door. And then I've subsequently learned, as I've gotten to know her, that she just loses all track of time and she has absolutely no idea. You can't drop gentle hints with Annabelle Crabb. You actually have to forcibly, shove her out the door. So I've since learnt that, but that was how it all started.
Brilliant. And I love that the friendship is now a book and it's become a cult of its own. There's merchandise, there's tours. I mean, you guys are like a rock band.
Well, I've got to cash in on her, frankly, Amanda, because, she's quite an annoying person. So if I can't make some money off the back of our friendship, I mean, what is the point of it, really?
That's exactly
That's exactly how mine and Amanda's relationship works.
But anyway, it is quite similar. It's equal parts love and slagging off. That's pretty much it, isn't it?
Exactly. It's sort of like a family member, really, where you love them, but you also love the opportunity to mercilessly take the piss out of them.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how Crab and I, approach each other.
Well, this is a great book, and when I'm reading it, I'm not going to read it, during the show. That would be unprofessional. But it's a great book because I know it's got an internal bookmark. When you put a ribbon in one of those books, the Bible's got one of those. Okay, I'm just saying. I'm not being sacrilegious, but really, this is great. And if you can work on putting noses on you and Annabelle, that would be great. That's my only critique.
We modelled a lot of the styling of it on the Bible. We thought that would be
hope you left out the begatting.
I'm going straight to Revelations. Well, hello. It's available now. Lee Sales, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Lee. You take care.
Jonesy and Amanda.
Jam Nation.
Podcast.
We're not gonna take it.
I want you to get up right now.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Go to your windows, open them, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell. I'm not going to take this anymore.
Let's get on down to the Jonesy and Amanda Arms. The pub test. Gladys, our premier, going. Does it pass the pub test?
What a shock on Friday afternoon to hear these words.
Resigning at this time is against every instinct in my being and something which I do not want to do. I love my job and I love serving the community, but I have been given no option following the statement that's been issued today.
Well, what a shock. She knew that there was a chance that this investigation that had been about her former partner would shine the light on her and how much she knew of his dealings and whether she has been compromised. ICAC has decided that, yes, it's time for her to be investigated. I think we all agree the timing's terrible. We're in the midst of a pandemic, but it's not ICAC's job to care about the time.
It's true. What you want with ICAC, you want a happy medium between Luna Park Ghost Train fire and now. So something that,
Well, the ICAC looks at corruption.
Yeah. Well, where were they in 1979?
Well, that's right. They have only been established in more recent times. We've lost 3 premiers to ICAC that was brought in to stop the history of corruption in our state politics. People are often calling for one on a federal level. Gladys Berejiklian, I think on Friday, so many people were shocked and said, why has she been forced out? And over the weekend, people have started to think she chose to go. Mm-hmm. She was told she's being investigated. She didn't stand aside while this was happening. She chose to fully resign.
So that says to me that there's more to this.
Well, I just don't know. I saw someone tweeted this. Gladys is dating Arthur Moses, a former president of the New South Wales Bar, president of the Law Council. He's acted before ICAC for many years. He knows it intricately. Do you think she would have quit if his advice had been, you've got nothing to worry about?
I like what this Twitter person said. Don't be sad it's over. Be Gladys, it happened.
Oh, I know. And people were putting out their jackets, putting out their shredders for Gladys. And someone said, is there a more Australian scandal than Gladys and Daryl?
Someone's made a massacre that looks like Gladys.
I know. Gladys going. Does it pass the pub test?
If she knew she was 100% kosher in everything she did, she did everything by the book, did nothing wrong, you wouldn't go. I mean, I like Gladys, but would you leave if you're innocent?
She's had to fall on a sword, so goodbye to corruption. If you're in the public office, you got to be squeaky clean.
Well, she has to face ICAC, and she can't be a premier and be in the ICAC box. It'll be one hell of a mess come election time in 2 years' time.
Yes, I think it does pass the pub test for the simple reason if Gladys had nothing to hide and wasn't corrupt, then why would she have resigned anyway? Her resigning to me just says that, yeah, she's corrupt. She should have gone straight up.
No, it does not, and it casts doubt on whether ICAC really is independent.
There you go. Thank you for all your calls.
All right, well, speaking of Gladys, we've had someone submit something regarding her resignation, something you will love, Jonesy.
As long as it's not a parody song.
You're going to love it. We'll look at it next.
Jam Nation.
Well, do you remember just a couple of, was it weeks or months, I've lost track of the time, where we were sent a parody song.
What do I say about parody songs? They belong in the 90s with Uncle Doug Murray. He did them great, and that was it.
He did them great.
If you're doing that on radio now, It's like doing on this day information.
Well, we got quite a bit of mileage from this.
We're all at home and COVID's making us lonely 'cause we all are in lockdown.
Yep, so anyway, that's enough of that one. We enjoyed that one. Maybe a little too much because it's given someone else the idea.
Oh, come on, no. Come
on.
No. Let me just say, let's not start this, okay? Let's not suddenly get people with parody songs.
You are going to love this one. This is from someone called Deegan Agnew and his song for Gladys called Scandal in the Wings. Sounds good so far.
Goodbye, Gladys B. Though I never knew you at all, you had the grace to sack yourself when ICAC came to call.
It's not bad.
You crawled out of the cabinet and they whispered into your ear, you should run for premier. You're just perfect for this game.
For more rhyming.
And it seems to me you lived your term with a scandal in the wings, never knowing quite what to do when COVID set in. And I wish we could have known you, but you were just a blip. Your scandals caught up long before your vaccinations did.
Oh, we're quite heavily vaxxed now.
Yeah, I think so.
It's another verse to go.
Come on, there's a big piano, big gong in red.
No. Wait, second verse, please. If I can hear it, you can.
Leadership was tough, the toughest role you ever played. Parliament created a megastar, and shame was the price you paid.
Right.
Even when you tried, your affair still haunted you. All the papers had to say,
here we go,
was that Darryl and you were caught in the news.
Well, that's not true.
And it seems to me you served your term, throwing caution to the wind, never knowing who to stand on when the press set in. And I wish we'd got to know you and your inner kid. The scandals dried up long before your massive schnauzer did.
Gong him red.
What did that say at the end?
Your massive schnauzer did. No need to get personal.
Do you think she'd be more affronted at Found in the Nude or Massive Schnauzer? Either way, that doesn't have a place on our show.
I'm saying this right now. I'm putting my foot down on everything. No more parody songs.
Deegan has said, you guys might enjoy this. Feel free to use it. I'm happy to provide more in the future.
No, that's okay. Maybe keep it to yourself.
All right. Well, let's talk about daylight savings next. Something else that's very confusing.
You're still confused.
Jonesy and Amanda.
Jam Nation.
Podcast.
Please tell me, how hard is it? Daylight savings, it's not that hard.
Well, I know. And years ago, like if we were doing breakfast radio in the olden days, we'd have had phone topics of, how did you mess up with the phones, with the clocks not working? Because in the old days, you had to change every clock in your house. Now we have, technology that changes it for you, but you still have a problem. I've got 2 or 3 clocks in the house that are old school that I have to physically change. And so my watches are out. I've got an Apple Watch, but I've got a couple of other watches that are just, I have to do it myself.
Your bling watches.
Yeah. And my phone changes, but then I can't remember, have I changed the old clock in the kitchen? Was Harley still there? So it's still, the first few days are still confusing. Yep. My car clock will be wrong for 6 months. I know that. I know myself well enough to I'm not going to fix it.
If you're going to get a run of green lights, all you got to do is try to change your car clock while you're at the traffic lights, because you will guaranteed get a run of green lights.
Actually, that is so true. It used to be if you had to look at your street directory. As soon as you had to think, I hope I can stop here at the lights, you never get a red light. But, have you seen this? This is Australia without daylight saving. There's 3 time zones. We've got a massive country.
Yep.
6 p.m. So if it's 8 p.m. on the eastern side of the country, it's 6 p.m. in Perth and it's 7:30 in that middle bit. It's broken into 3 zones.
Middle bit, South Australia and
the Northern Territory. So daylight saving, In that same time now we have an 8 p.m, a 9 p.m, an 8:30. How weird's that? A 7:30 and a 6 o'clock. That's hard, isn't it? I've got relatives in Queensland. I've got a friend in Western Australia. I can't keep up anymore. I was interested to see a number of people on socials over the weekend saying, you know what, let's drop daylight saving. It used to be that everyone loved it and all of Queensland wanted it and didn't have it. But someone was saying here, I don't understand daylight saving considering climate change. Just the hot afternoons go on and on. That's something to think about, isn't it?
I always find if I'm going to bed and I hear kids playing out in the street, that's always a little bit unsettling at 8 o'clock at night.
I know. It makes you feel like you're living the life of a toddler when the small children next door are still awake.
Can you guys keep it down?
Well, you have an afternoon sleep as well.
Yeah.
So if there's building across the road, excuse me, I'm trying to sleep.
Come on.
It's 2 in the afternoon like you're an old drunk.
Well, I had to sleep on Friday for 45 minutes and I wake up and the Premier's gone.
Oh, I bet she wishes she could swap.
Jam Nation.
Well, we spoke to the legendary William Shatner on the show last week. He's 91 years old. And I'd heard an interesting rumour and I put it to him. Tell me about this story I've heard about you going into space with Jeff Bezos.
The problem is I can't talk about it because we're in the middle of something.
Oh.
So I got to just like close the conversation. But if I have the opportunity to talk to you again, I will tell you about it because it could be something quite extraordinary for me. So let me get off that subject for the moment.
Okay, of course.
For the moment. Because I would have imagined you would have already been to space. Like I know you did it in the show. But
You know that was a show.
I know it was a show.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I sat in the pretend chair and they made noises like, and
about senior moments
for the sliding doors. Well,
what
it
about
was happening.
this? A statement released yesterday confirmed that that's happening. Blue Origin, which is the Jeff Bezos space program, for want of a better word.
Well, this is the one that looks like a giant phallic symbol.
Well, it's a rocket.
Rockets. Yeah, but it's got the bulbous head and the...
That's Jeff Bezos. It says he will fly on board the New Shepard NS-18. He'll join crewmates for the flight, which lifts off from the launch site 1 on October 12. William Shatner is quoted as saying, I've heard about space for a long time now. I'm taking opportunity to see it for myself. What a miracle. He will be the oldest person in space because what they will do is they will fly up just beyond the Kármán line. That's 100 k's above the Earth, and that is internationally recognised as the boundary of space. They're going to make a 15-minute documentary about this, because this is the beginning of civilian travel to head up there. But a 91-year-old, oldest person in space.
I don't know. I'm not really jazzed about it, because that makes me shallow. What's
I'm not
the
that
point?
interested.
Unless you go up into space to get to, say, America very quickly, that would be
I agree. To make travel easier, I'm happy to go to Noosa. You know, I don't need to be going to space right now. I wonder, though, him being the oldest person, whether he'll do that thing that old people do and get to the airport 4 hours early. He'll have his deep vein thrombosis stockings on.
He's got his stockings on.
I'm ready.
Jonesy and Amanda.
Jam Nation.
Podcast.
Everybody shout! Come on now, sing out! It's time for the Ghoulies get together.
We do have a Ghoulies hotline number. We also have a prize for our favourite Ghoulie of the year. $10,000 cash and a brand new Spinally's mattress valued over $16,000.
The number is 906179884. What have we got?
My Ghoulie is a riddle. What is worse than giving a crying child, your own, an ice cream on the cone at Mr. Whippy? What's worse is when that crying kid gets the ice cream and drops the ice cream on the pathway and cries double.
Yeah.
It's not a riddle, that's just life.
It is
That's just life.
It's an Alanis Morissette song.
What gets my ghoulies is when you're in the shower, shaving your legs, and you drop the razor and the head comes off. And you're fumbling around trying to get it back on and it's slippery and everything. Anyway, you finally get it back on, you finish shaving the other leg, you get out of the shower, only to realise you put it on upside down and you haven't been shaving your leg at all. Oh, that's what gets my ghoulies.
Does that happen to you?
I'm trying to use the whippersnipper in the shower in case it catches fire.
Put your leg on backwards.
Tell you what, at the moment, If I went for a swim, it'd be like drift netting. I would catch dolphins. Please open up the beauticians now.
Is that what you call them? Enough of your sex talk. Out with the bad, in with the good. If you dip down.
Dreadful.
Call us on the hotline, 90617984.
Jam Nation.
Our favourite caller, email or Facebook friend wins a deluxe overnight stay at the Crown Plaza, Sydney Darling Harbour. Isn't this exciting? We can actually give away hotel stays. You can go now. It's celebrating its first birthday this month.
You also get the Jonesy and Amanda bobblehead and branded tea towel.
We encourage you guys to get involved in the show. Lately, you've been going to the next level, recording parody songs. Remember, we had Alan with this.
Next level?
We're all at home and COVID's making us lonely because we all are in lockdown.
I think parody songs have a place.
Well, they're on this show.
1991.
Another listener of ours, Brendan Deegan, recorded a parody song over the weekend about Gladys's resignation. Here's some of our favourite bits.
Your affair still haunted you. All the papers had to say was that Daryl and you were caught in the news.
And there was that.
And I wish we'd got to know you and your inner kid. The scandals dried up long before your massive schnauzer did.
Okay. The scandals dried up long before your massive schnauzer did. That is outrageous. Why don't you just send us a Gladys Masaka and be done
People
with
have been making masakas with her face on them as a homage.
Righto, you two. That's enough.
Ugly Phil's up next. Postcode payday begins.
Yep.
Register your name and your postcode at wsfm.com.au. We'll call out a postcode, then a suburb, then a name. If it's you, you win the cash.
We'll be back tonight from 6 for Jam Nation.
See you then.
Good day to you.
Well, thank God that's over.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Wipe the tear, baby dear, from your eye.
A podcast of today's show is available to download from the iHeartRadio app.
All the cool kids are doing it.
Goodbye. Jonesy and Amanda.
Jam Nation.
Podcast. Catch up on what you've missed on the free iHeartRadio app.